Behind the Scene with David Bedein, May 7th, 2023. Now, I want to get on to the other subject I want to deal with today. That's the subject of normalization. One of the panacea offered to the Israel-Arab war is to offer normalization. Okay. Now, Theodor Herzl, of course, always talked about a normal Jewish state, but the problem is that normalization doesn't exist in the rule of law or diplomacy. People are happy to hear about normalization because maybe this will be a happy days are here again. Maybe this will be a new tune that the Arabs are singing. The reason why there's some skepticism is because the genocidal war against Israel has been going on ever since 1948. Actually, 45 in 1945, the Arab League of Nations established a charter calling for the liquidation of the Jews of Palestine, launched the total war in 1948, and the same goes for the Palestine Liberation Organization, which in 1964 issued a charter of total annihilation against the Jews of Palestine, a covenant enforced to this day. Now, as you may know, Egypt and Jordan signed peace treaties with Israel, while Syria and Lebanon agreed to an armistice with the Jewish state. But Saudi Arabia, the kingpin of the Arab League, has never agreed to any armistice or any peace whatsoever. So, with the what we've seen now is that maybe the PLO, which never even ratified the Oslo Accord, the Oslo Peace Accord from September 1993, the Fatah, their main entity, met in special session in October 93 and did not approve it. And Saudi Arabia all along has said we're going to continue the war. So maybe the Arabs are moving towards normalization. So what would be the four requirements of normalization that we can think of, which people watching this program can communicate to your respective governments? Number one, removing the texts and teachers of the Palestinian Authority who advocate war against Israel. In other words, they've created a war curriculum, which is unprecedented. It's on our website, israelbehindthenews.com. Number two, they launched an aspect of normalization could finally resettle the descendants of Arab refugees from the 1948 war, who now dwell in 59 temporary refugee camps run by the United Nations Relief and Works Agency. They're there in those refugee camps under the premise and promise of the right of return to 1948 villages, which no longer exist. So there's been several programs suggested how to resettle the Arab refugees and get them out of those refugee camps. That would be an aspect of normalization. Number three, repeal the unprecedented new PA statute that if you murder a Jew, you get a salary for life. How can you have any pretense of normalization when there's a statute giving an incentive to anyone who murders a Jew? They're very important because too often when there's a murder taking place, an Arab, he did it as a lone wolf. We don't know why he did it. Maybe he has psychological problems. But people ignore the fact that there's a law with an incentive. That law, under the incentive incentivizing terror, can be found on the website of the Jerusalem Center for Public Affairs, a very, very respected institution, and it's still there. It's on the books. And last but not least, removing all the PA maps, the new Palestinian Authority maps, which delete Israel. Not only do they delete Israel, they replace every Jewish community with the name of an Arab village in all texts used in the schools of the Palestinian Authority and UNRWA. Now we have a study of that on the front page of our website, israelbehindthenews.com. Normalization would necessitate the presentation of maps in all schools, which would depict all UN members in good standing, including Israel. Now, these four steps provide the genesis of real normalization. At this point in time, these reasonable steps are not on the agenda of normalization, and there's no question in my mind that the Israel High Court of Justice would support normalization without those steps. So this is what in Israel and other people who care about Israel have to deal with in the near future. And just to say that there's going to be normalization from Saudi Arabia, which is the prime funder of the Palestinian Authority, and is still in a state of war, to allow them to have a normal relationship to Israel while at the same time being at war with Israel. There's something wrong with that. Behind the scene, with David Bedein.